Okay, so far we have discussed the Kubernetes architecture, and now we are moving to the objects in Kubernetes. So these are the high-level objects which are present in Kubernetes. So there are a vast variety of objects which are there in Kubernetes, but these are major four objects in the Kubernetes, which you will be seeing day in day out. Most of the time these four are only used on the basic levels. On the advanced level you can explore it as further as you can. So pod, so let's come on to the pod is the smallest execution unit in the Kubernetes. So when I say pod, so you should uh, understand it as a unit. Okay, inside a pod there can be multiple containers running. So let's say you have one nginx container which is running inside a pod. A pod is execution unit, and every pod is having one unique IP address. So we will see how this pod deployment happens, and there is one replica set. So replica set will make sure that the number of replicas which you have specified for a particular pods, they will be always up and running. And then comes deployment is basically on the top of pod, then replica set, then together they form a deployment. So there can be rollout deployment where you can have two replica sets. One replica set is having the latest version, other replica set consists of all of old version. So, and then is service, because whatever you are doing is inside the cluster and they all are having private IP. So whatever services are there are accessible inside the cluster only, and if you want to access them outside, then you need to do something with the services, which I'll be covering later on. But this service concept is very important because nowadays people are doing service discovery, because as pods are means very tentative, they can go down anytime. Means they are reliable, but it can happen that your application crashes. Then out of four pod, one pod goes down, and when other pod is coming up, it is having a different IP address. So if it is coming with a different IP address, how you do come to know, or how will you update your table and all? So instead of that, we are covering a service discovery based concept. So let's get into the action. So let me see just ls, and see, all these things can be done via file. These are known as uh, in Kubernetes there are different type of YAML syntax, so you need to write these type of files. So I will give you one example of this file, then we will directly jump on to the other thing. So this is a pod creation file. This is how you will create a pod. So let me get this file, pod creation file. So every file, every configuration file in Kubernetes will go something like this. So every in the beginning there is one API version. You need to tell which version of API you can using, then use what kind of this file is. So this file is used for deploying the pod. Then I'm saying this is of kind pod. Then metadata information about this configuration. So when I'm deploying a pod, it would be named as nginx pod. So this pod will be named as nginx pod. Then spec is something what is going to be inside this pod. So I'm saying spec, inside this spec I'm saying containers. So as you can see, this container is a list. So you can specify multiple containers inside a single pod. So here I'm using one, that container name is nginx, and image which I am picking is of nginx. So it is directly going to pull the image from the Docker hub, and the port which is I am exposing is port number 80. So you need to tell that on my Docker port I am listening on port number 80. So let's do this. Then I'm saying kubectl, then I'm saying create -f, then followed by my file name, that is pod creation.yaml. And as soon as I hit enter, it is saying me the nginx pod is created. So as soon as pod is running, we can see this create file. Every time you provide a resource what you want to create, and -f stands for the means file. I'm referring a file. So when I'm saying kubectl -f production.yaml, whatever there is in file, so it will read that okay, kind you want to create a pod. So similarly we can give deployment. Similarly, we can give replication set. Similar thing we can give services. All of these code I will upload it on my GitHub profile once you people get used to it. So let's verify this kubectl get pods. So see, here is the pod up and running. So kubectl get is one of the major command you need to remember. Every time kubectl get pods, kubectl get replication set, kubectl get deployment. So this get command will help you to see uh, what things are running in your Kubernetes cluster. So just for a recap, just think in your mind, what is command to see all the servers running in my Kubernetes cluster? You are right, it is kubectl get nodes. So pod is there. So get command is very important for troubleshooting and the different learning purposes. So let me tell you another command, describe. Describe, then what I am trying to describe, nginx pod. See, so whenever I'll type kubectl describe, I want to describe something, then I'm typing which thing I want to describe. Want to describe a pod, then followed by a pod name. So you can see, so it will give you complete whole information, what is there and what is not. So for example, the pod we have created, I've told you in the metadata, I've given the name of the pod, that is nginx, and it is in the default namespace. I will cover the namespace topic on the later on, and on which pod it is deployed or which node it is deployed. This pod is deployed on, uh, as we are in a mini cube, so everything is deployed here. If there is something, let's say there are 10 of nodes you are having, and it can be deployed on any node, right? So label, we have not given any label, but this is very important. I will teach you this concept later on. And there is a private IP. As I told you, everything is inside a Kubernetes cluster, so they all will have a private IP. So this container got this IP address, and this is the port which I said it is listening on, port number 80. Okay, right. So this is the thing about this thing, and I will show you the later concept in the later video. And keep running, keep studying. Thanks for watching this video.